I'll never forget the night the pizza place I worked in was about to close when the phone rang. I was working the counter alone that night, so I picked up the phone. There was complete silence, so I hung up. About a minute later, the phone rang, so I picked it up again. Still silence. I was about to hang up again when I heard a weak and cold voice of an old lady. She said she wanted a regular pie to be delivered. I was very polite, but inside I was steaming. I wanted to go home so bad and end my shift. I called my boss that there was another delivery. He said I had to go and I could close up later. I was upset, but I knew that late calls usually give up good tips. So I told the lady I would be at her home shortly. But she already hung up. So I told the chief one more order. The house was 7 miles away. It was a very small house. I rang the doorbell, but there was no answer. The lights were off. I rang again. I was about to walk away when I see the curtains move. There was a shadowy figure at the window. I couldn't see who it was, so I got closer to the window. It was the elderly lady, 70 years old. She stood there, just looking at me, with a blank look on her face. I told her I had the pizza, but she made no response. I thought she probably didn't hear me, so I screamed it louder. She looked at me, smiled, but not a normal smile, a bone-chilling, eerie smile. I still remember, to this day, that woman's face with a horrible smile. I was so freaked out, I just turned around and walked to my car with the pizza. I texted my boss to tell him I couldn't deliver the pizza when I looked out the passenger window to see the woman standing outside my car with the same evil smile. I put my car in drive and floored it. My boss never made me make a late night shift delivery again. This happened for 4 years ago, when I was in high school. I was told to do my last delivery, so I got in the old car and headed out. I live upstate, in the country, so all pizza's deliveries were a long drive. I remember the sun was starting to set, so I would say it was about 7 o'clock. I'd say after 15 minutes of driving, I finally got there. It was a very old house, made completely out of wood. It was sitting all by itself, surrounded by forest. The lawn was completely unkept. I was used to all this, so I didn't think anything of it. I took the pizza to the front door. There was no doorknob, so I knocked and yelled, "It's the pizza guy, with your pizza." Nothing, so I repeated. Suddenly, I heard footsteps from the inside, heading to the door, and stopped. But they didn't open the door. They just stood there. I yelled again, "It's the pizza guy," a low voice said from beyond the door, "Bring it to the back of the house." I was reluctant. I asked him, "Are you sure, sir?" No answer. I was about to walk back to the car, but I didn't want to have a problem with my boss. Last time I bought back a pizza, I almost got fired. So I treaded lightly as I made my way to the back of the house, though through the bush. I come across a figure of someone sitting in a chair in my opposite direction, in the porch, staring off into the distance. "Excuse me, I have a pizza," but it didn't move nor talk. I repeated myself, but nothing. I heard a voice coming from the door, just past the silent figure. "Hey, over here." I look in the direction of the whisper. I see this man poking his head through the old door. He had this weird, unnatural smile as if he knew something I didn't. He says, "Come here, I want to show you something." I was so scared, I ran back to my car and drove away. As soon as I got back into town, I called the cops. I got a call back from the police who informed me there was no one there, nor there were sightings of anyone being there for a long time. I quit my job a few days later. I was doing a nighttime delivery. I lived in a very rural town. This night was very foggy, with poor visibility, which was rare this time of the year. As I was driving down a dirt road, I see this person jump in front of my car. I feel an impact in my front bumper, screeching to a stop. I quickly get out of the car. The man was on the ground in front of my car. He was wearing a black hoodie over his head. As I was about to bend down to touch him, I heard a voice from inside of the woods, crying for help. I turned around without a second thought, ran into the woods in the direction of the scream. I yelled out, "Hello? Anyone there?" Complete silence, but the sounds of crickets. When I feel like I'm being watched, I see a shadowy figure just about 10 feet away from me, hiding behind a tree. I yell, "Are you okay?" But nothing. The figure just stands there, now in front of the tree. It seemed as if it was staring at me for hours. I got so scared, I ran back into the direction of my car. When I got there, the man that was laying on the ground was gone. I hopped in my car and drove away. I was shaken, but just glad I got out of there. I walked up to the door and the lady opened the door. As I'm giving her change, she looked past me in the direction of my car and says, "Are you letting you guys have delivery partners now?" I was confused and asked her what she meant, and she told me, "You have somebody with you sitting in the car." I looked back and saw somebody sitting in that back seat of my car. I called the cops from the customer's house phone and they arrived shortly after. But the person in my car was already gone. The scariest thing about this was that the cops found a bloodstained knife on the floor of my back seat. I'm haunted by this event every day. I can genuinely tell you it's painfully scary to imagine how things could have gone if I didn't do the last delivery.